Game Builder Studio.
Now let's create the game over screen. I'm going to reuse this title up here, and I'm just going to change the text on it. So what I'm going to want to do is add some logic for that. When the game is running, we hide this title, and when it's paused, we animate it on screen and we show, we change the alpha value. I could even change this label and say show render. It changes the alpha value to 1. So what I want to do is add another action here to set the text property on the renderer to game paused. I'll use a string value, game paused. Now I want another mapping for when the game is over. I want to do the same thing, but I want to change the text to hero killed. So I want to animate it on screen, and I'm just going to use the same settings here. I don't want to change property. I want an interpolate property action. And I'm going to change the spatial, the Y coordinate, and I'm going to animate it from off screen to on screen. Into the starting Y position. I'll give it maybe 0.4. Delay will be 0. Oh, that's good. Now I want to change the alpha value once again to 1. And I want to change the text on the text renderer to a string, and I'm going to put hero killed with an exclamation mark. So that'll be reused. Now I will create a new button. I'm going to copy this guy and paste it. And this will be the main button. This will take us back to the main screen once the game is over. This button is using a normal sprite renderer, but I need to use the hero sprite sheet. So I'm going to remove this renderer, and I'm going to add a sprite sheet renderer, and I will also add a sprite sheet component. So that I can utilize that Hungry Hero sprite sheet. I'm going to give it a divider of the texture packer coordinates, and I'm going to find the Hungry Hero data sprite sheet data file, and that will allow me to get all that would allow me to get the main button frame that I need. So I'm going to select that, and I want to find the main button frame. It's game over main button. Alright, this button needs to come on screen when the game enters the game over state and not the game pause state. And I need to set the initial starting position. So I'm going to look at where it is now. I want it about right there. It's at 497, so I'll set that as the position it needs to animate into. Now when this button is touched, we want to go back to the main menu. So I'm going to get rid of this action here and add a change level action to go to level 0. Now I want to copy this guy and I'm going to call this the play again button. And I need to change the index, the frame index, to the play again button. And it's going to be the same Y coordinate as the main button. And when it's released, we want to change the game state on the global game state object. We want to change that to game started, which is going to reset the whole game and transition into the running state. And I want to get these guys off screen, so I'm just going to move those down. In the Y. Now I need to create the display for the distance and the score result. So I'm going to use another quick object. I'm going to label this distance traveled. And I want to use a bitmap font on this guy as well. The font score label font, or rather, I think I'll use the font score results, and I'll set it to white. And I'll label this guy game over distance label, and I want to drag it onto the UI layer. I want it to be above everything. And I need to add logic in here. I'm actually going to add state logic, because I only want it to show up when the global game state machine is in the game over state. Let's see, I selected the wrong property. I need the actual state machine component. Now when the game is over, I want to show the renderer by displaying the alpha value. And when the game is running, I want to hide this guy. Set the alpha to 0. I will duplicate this entity, copy and paste it, and I'm going to display the result. I'm going to call this the distance text, and I'll change the font on it to font score value. When the game is running, I want to hide this, and when the game is over, I want it to show up. And I also want to add an action in here to display the distance value. From the distance object, there's a distance property. Actually, I want to set the text property on the distance text. Using a reference, I'm going to grab that distance property. Now I want to duplicate this guy. I'm going to make a clone because I also want to display or create the score label. So I'm going to clone this guy, position it right below, going to unlock the renderer, I'll add a colon there, also put a colon on this one. And this is all good there. I'm going to relabel this guy to score label. And I want to duplicate or clone the result, the score result. And I'm going to unlock the logic for this guy because I want to display the score result. All right. Now, if I've set up everything correctly, it should display these screens at the right time. So let's run that. All right, the game is started. Now I can pause it, and it shows the game pause screen, resume, quit. I can keep it going. Now I'm gonna kill the character, and there we go. We have the game over state, and it displays the score and the distance. We'll add the distance traveled functionality in a bit. It looks like the layering, something funky going on here with the layer index. So let me check this object. We want it above everything. We want it above the pause game background. All right. I also need to add some background music. So I'm going to go to the sky background layer, and I'm going to add a background sound player. And I'm going to play the background game music. All right. Let's run that. All right, the game is started. I can pause it. It has the correct label, resume, quit button. I can resume it, and now let me kill the character. Alright, the game's over. Now I can reset it, and it'll start the game right back to the beginning. Or I can quit and go to the main menu. Alright. Now let's add the distance traveled score functionality quickly. I'll go to the Hungry Hero entity, and when the hero is in the flying state, we want to constantly update the distance. We don't want it to be updated while he's in the hurt state, so that's where using the state machine comes in handy. So I will use a constrain property because we want it to constantly update, and I will access that distance property that we created earlier, and I'm going to use an expression. I want to access the game's time. The virtual time respects the time scale and when you pause the game, and it'll update, and accordingly the game time will be a constant time from the time you launch the game. So we're going to use this and multiply it by 0.01, and we also want to use a math helper method here to round it, because we don't want infinite amount of decimals. So we're going to round this to the nearest whole number. I'll save that. And I'll also constantly update the score display with a constrained property. Go to the distance render. We're going to access the text property, and we want to use a reference to pass the value of that distance property. Alright, should be able to run that. And there you go, you can see the distance being updated. Now if we wanted to have another gear for the hero and he was going faster, you could multiply the distance by the amount of speed that the character is going at. Now if I kill this guy, the score should update in the display once the game is over. Alright, so that's that.